Have you ever noticed that some of the smartest people in the room often say the least? While others rush to speak, they observe. While others compete for attention, they listen. While others confidently express opinions about everything, they remain cautious. At first, this can seem strange. Shouldn't intelligence make someone more confident? Shouldn't knowledge make someone more outspoken? In reality, the relationship between intelligence and silence is far more complicated, because the more a person understands about the world, the more they become aware of how much they do not know. This is one of the great paradoxes of human psychology. The least informed people often possess the strongest certainty, while the most thoughtful people frequently carry the greatest doubts. The philosopher Socrates famously said, "The only true wisdom is in knowing you know nothing." At first glance, this statement sounds absurd. Surely intelligent people know many things, and they do. But wisdom brings something that raw knowledge does not: perspective. The wise person understands the complexity of reality. They understand that every issue contains layers. Every problem contains hidden variables. Every situation contains information they cannot yet see. As a result, they become less interested in appearing right, and more interested in understanding what is true. This often looks like silence, but it is not ignorance, it is restraint. Carl Jung believed that self-awareness changes the way a person interacts with the world. When people are young, they often define themselves through external validation. They want approval, recognition, attention, status. They want others to see how intelligent they are, how capable they are, how knowledgeable they are. But as self-awareness grows, something begins to change. The need to constantly prove oneself starts to fade, because true confidence rarely feels the need to announce itself. Think about a mountain. A mountain does not need to convince anyone of its size. It simply exists. The same principle often applies to intelligence. The people who constantly advertise their intelligence are not always the most intelligent. Sometimes they are simply seeking reassurance. Meanwhile, genuinely intelligent individuals often feel less urgency to display what they know. They understand that truth remains true whether it receives recognition or not. Another reason smart people stay quiet is that they notice things others miss. They recognize patterns, contradictions, motivations. Human beings communicate far more than words. A person's tone, facial expressions, body language, timing, all reveal information. The highly observant individual is often processing dozens of signals simultaneously. While others focus on speaking, they focus on understanding. This creates a significant advantage because people reveal themselves when they believe no one is paying attention. Many of the most important truths in life are discovered through observation rather than conversation. The person who speaks constantly learns only what they already know. The person who listens gains access to new information. This is why listening is one of the most underrated skills in psychology. Most people listen in order to respond. Very few listen in order to understand, and those who genuinely understand human nature often become remarkably quiet, not because they lack opinions, but because they recognize the value of patience. There is another reason intelligent people remain silent. They understand the cost of unnecessary conflict. Many arguments are not searches for truth. They are competitions for validation. Two people enter the conversation convinced they are correct. Neither is interested in learning. Both are interested in winning. The intelligent observer quickly recognizes this pattern and often chooses not to participate. This does not mean they are weak. It means they are selective. They understand that not every battle deserves their energy. Not every criticism deserves a response. Not every disagreement requires correction. Marcus Aurelius wrote extensively about this idea. He understood that much of human suffering comes from allowing trivial matters to consume our attention. A wise person learns to distinguish between what matters and what does not. And once that distinction becomes clear, silence often becomes easier, because speaking less allows greater focus on what truly deserves attention. Interestingly, silence can also make people uncomfortable. Many people feel compelled to fill every pause, every moment of stillness, every gap in conversation. But silence has power. Silence creates space. Space for reflection, space for observation, space for understanding. In a world overflowing with noise, silence becomes increasingly valuable. This is especially true in the digital age. Every day, millions of people compete for attention. Everyone is posting, commenting, arguing, reacting, expressing opinions. The result is a constant flood of information, and within that flood, thoughtful voices are often drowned out. The intelligent person recognizes this reality. Instead of reacting instantly, they pause. Instead of speaking impulsively, they think. Instead of following the crowd, they observe where the crowd is going. This habit of reflection often leads to better decisions, because intelligence is not merely the ability to think, it is the ability to think clearly, and clear thinking requires time. There is a final reason why smart people stay quiet. They understand that identity is fragile. Many people become attached to being right. They build their self-worth around their opinions, their beliefs, their knowledge. As a result, every disagreement feels like a personal attack. But truly intelligent people become comfortable with uncertainty. They understand that being wrong is not a disaster. In fact, being wrong is often the first step toward discovering something new. This mindset creates humility, and humility creates curiosity. The curious person asks questions. The arrogant person makes declarations. The curious person learns. The arrogant person defends. The curious person evolves. The arrogant person remains stuck. This is why genuine intelligence often appears quieter than expected. It is less concerned with appearing knowledgeable, and more concerned with becoming wiser. The goal is not to dominate conversations. The goal is not to impress strangers. The goal is not to collect approval. The goal is understanding. Understanding yourself, understanding others, understanding reality. And once a person becomes deeply committed to understanding, something interesting happens. They begin speaking less, listening more, judging less, observing more, not because they have nothing to say, but because they have finally learned the value of silence. In the end, intelligence is not measured by how loudly a person speaks. It is measured by how deeply they understand. And sometimes, the deepest understanding reveals itself through quiet observation rather than endless words.